Okay, I'm back. I'll probably play my Warlock. I haven't played on that in a couple of days. Um, I've acquired a few things that I can use on my Warlock and other characters. I need like fire damage and stuff, shurikens, physical. There's a level 62 ring. I can't really use that. Shock. There we go. This should be good. Nice fire increase. I could order some more stuff, but they're all probably much higher level. This ring. Cinder Strike. I'll probably use this. This would be good for fire and all that. I have fire damage and stuff. Oh, I gotta change my title. How do I change my title? But yeah. I feel like people when we talk about this, like to talk about stuff. I feel like people are kind of doing things that are successful, not to be successful, or just being so like prideful or whatever they are being. Like they don't want to be considered someone that is trying to be successful. Where if you really sit back and think about it, if you do things to be successful, someone has to do something that isn't successful. Like if you're in NASCAR, someone has to do something that doesn't work. In some ways, it does work because it challenges the person who's successful. So let's say there was people who just watch NASCAR, people that were known to be successful, like the one that always wins the race, and wait, let me try to get all that thing of casting and stuff. And Warlock. People that are always successful, and people that aren't they aren't someone who are going to emulate to be successful. Right? So what do I mean by that? People that are still challenging enough or participating in NASCAR to make the guy who always wins and is successful and has a successful way of life makes them react to what they're doing. So as far as like streaming goes, because I can only speak from personal experience, I've never been in NASCAR. Streaming goes, people do streaming because people have done it before they're successful. You know, they have a webcam, they're positive, they're always thankful, they're always thanking people and welcoming them. And you got to think about it. If you want to be successful, you can emulate people. Oh, this guy got his bees. Do I get my bees? Bees. Bees are cool because they'll probably sing you Nibel. Look, just think about it. If you want to emulate someone, as far as streaming goes, that's successful, instead of emulating them or even thinking of their success, what makes them react? You know, if you were to challenge them and try to compete with them, what would be something that's considered successful? You know, what would you be doing? You can start talking about politics. You can start talking about things you're not supposed to talk about. And that might not be good for you. Like, well, I can just emulate someone successful because that's a little more, that's like kind of better. Like it's considered like you're not as bad doing that. But at the same time, if somebody who isn't considered successful enough to be emulated does something that is still challenging to people, you have to find a way to exercise that, in my opinion, to find a new way to be successful. That's all I'm really trying to say. Like if I was gonna fight Mike Tyson and he trained to deal with me and he didn't just go to sleep until the fight came, or he didn't just smoke weed, I have to be doing something right. I have to be doing something in the eyes of someone who's successful. Maybe not someone who thinks I'm not successful because they only follow people who are successful, or they only unfollow number one. Someone who's successful would react to my actions and find it appropriate to dodge or necessary to dodge. So that gives you a bit of validity. That gives you validity as a challenger. So maybe instead of trying to be successful by emulating Michael Jordan, you know, who made Michael Jordan train? Who made Michael Jordan change his game? Who made Michael Jordan do this and that? So, you know, now that I think about it, you know, if I were to do it, I'd want people, like if I want to be a successful streamer, I'd want people to react to what I'm doing. And, you know, so I can be successful in my way. So people can follow them and say, okay, I like following, let's say XQC. And, you know, I can emulate XQC successful. Or I can say, what can I do that'll make XQC feel challenged or feel that he needs to do something better? Not to, like, tire him out or to, like, bully him like he's some old person. But just, if it was a competition, how would that, you know, what would that be? And that's where you find your own level of success. Or in a story where you aren't number one, you find your own level of, like, mediocrity, if you will. Where, like, you're always number two. So what would I do? You know, if I knew I could emulate, because that's on the table. You can emulate Michael Jordan. You can emulate whoever's the best. Like, I get that. It's not nothing you need to hammer into my brain. I get it. But really, who's competing with number one and who isn't successful, but is still, from the eyes of number one, a challenge, not the eyes of the observer. Someone who is actually in competition, right? So I'd say, well, I can stream for a very long time because it'll always end up being different. I can't just keep emulating other people, right? Or I could stream early in the morning and be like, what's up, guys? Good morning, right? Or I can promote my brand. You know, there's a lot of things you can do to carve your own path out. I know people be satisfied with me just shutting up and saying, emulate number one, even though that never works, probably, because it would have worked already. No one recognizes you as anyone but you, so... But I think that this is kind of a good strategy because people don't want you emulating them because they're too cool to be emulated. Like, they're that cool. And you personally might not have, you know, whoever would understand this, might not have an identity at that point. Once you're emulating someone, you might lose your identity and not have any idea or even feelings or nothing. You just would be doing nothing at that point. But I know that if I kind of challenged what they were doing with what they would respond to, in my opinion, if I throw a rock at, you know, if I throw a rock at somebody who I was in a fight with, I know that it worked because they dodged it, not because I got a trophy. That's not the point. So, like, there's a lot of strategies that can be implemented, and there's a lot you can change about life in the world just from that idea. Like, you can have Lightning McQueen versus a bunch of other cars, but he's still having to drive perfectly. He's still having to do something to deal with these other competitors. What are they doing to make him drive so perfect? You gotta put yourself in the shoes of someone who can challenge people who are basically considered great, and how you can become great by challenging them and winning, doing it your way. So I think what I would start doing is creating more morning themed things. Even that could be very risky because I don't want to get up in the morning and stream, right? I'd rather enjoy the morning, and then once it's not morning time to me, like, okay, I woke up this morning, then I would stream. I'm not just gonna wake up and start streaming. That'd be kind of bad. Let's go. Let me know. Okay. So, there's a lesson that everyone can learn from there being streaming. Streaming doesn't exist without, I mean, people are still gonna stream. Like, people are like that. People are like, well, I would have, not the people who are like unique and have their own ideas. Not those people. People that are streaming because of people who are successful, which is a lot more people that are doing that than aren't, right? They should stop trying to emulate them so much and just understand that if they were to challenge them in their own way with their streaming style, they might find their own identity, and through their own identity, they have something to stand on. They can't stand on someone else's success. They can't stand on someone else's identity. They need to get their own identity and their own strategies, right? So like, I would literally stop thinking from the perspective of someone who was successful and doing what successful people do, but instead, what challenges them? Who's gonna fight Ryu? Who's gonna fight Liu Kang? Who's gonna fight them? All right. If you're not willing to fight them, willing to be them, then you're willing to fight whoever else, and you'll still end up doing the same thing, right? So now I get that maybe with me making more morning themed stuff, it isn't about me being in a category because I've already stopped trying to be successful like everyone else, the same way everyone else is doing it. So it's like, it isn't the same as following people who are successful, right? It's literally like your own thing. It's hard to have it understood because it isn't successful. People don't understand things that aren't successful. They choose not to. People choose not to give as much reverence or respect to things that aren't successful, which is fine because the respect is based off success. It isn't even real respect. It's just a button they press. So like Mike Tyson's gonna be fighting Jake Paul. Like, this is gonna be big because everyone wants Jake Paul to lose, but he's kind of like the internet, where like it's hard to understand whether it's real or not, or whether he's actually winning. It's hard. If I knew him in real life, I could tell whether he was winning legitimately, but I don't. I think he's like an internet person. But you can say, well, you can ride the Mike Tyson bandwagon, but at the end of the day, this is a different era, and Jake Paul's the internet guy. Or whatever, whichever one it is, right? And you'd say, well, what does Mike Tyson have to gain from winning against someone like this? He can talk his old school stuff, and you can side with him, or you say, well, wait, what if it isn't about one of them being bigger than the other, or the other one being more successful, but it's literally about someone winning. And like, whoever wins is number one.
Your death has come.
So you'd be like, well, I was think Mike Tyson's gonna lose, not even because of boxing, just because of the internet, right? Just because of Jake Paul's position as far as like an internet general, like he wins because that's how it works. Like maybe you would listen to my point about not emulating someone who's successful and finding your own way, because once you got to Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, you'd have a hard time emulating either one of them because you don't know who's gonna win, right? We say it feels like Muhammad Ali versus some boxer. You'd say Muhammad Ali. I'm like Muhammad Ali, blah blah blah. Like Muhammad Ali, he's my idol. But at this point, in this pivotal moment where it's gonna be like a legit world champion, Mike Tyson, who's kind of an enigma. No one really knows Mike Tyson like that. They don't know if he'd literally lose a fight on purpose. They don't know. They don't know if he would. They don't know. So I would say, look, what if you were in the fight and you were like Mike Tyson, like you were the world champion, like you were Mike Tyson basically, or you were like Jake Paul, you were like an internet general who is always talk of him pulling strings, right? Cheating, basically. You know, what would you do? You would say, well, I need somebody. What's my opinion? You would say, I need somebody who's more like Molly, someone who I know is gonna win because, you know, I can emulate them. And I would say, no, bro, you should start thinking more originally, right? Because this fight will force people to think originally. Like, you're right. If Jake Paul knocked out other legitimate boxers, maybe Mike Tyson's not any different, and, you know, we'd have to challenge him or we'd have to side with him, right? My point in that is, maybe if I kept emulating Mike Tyson, if he ever throws a fight against someone like the Internet General, it would just shatter whatever legitimacy I had, even though I don't have an identity because I'm just following Mike Tyson. But this is why you have your own identity. Your own identity would be like, all right, if I were to challenge Mike Tyson, because, like I said, if people react to what you're doing in some way, you are succeeding. I would never need to be him. I'd never need to have that identity, so I never have to think from his perspective. And I would say, at some point, not to say like it's about winning at this point. It's really about having your identity, so winning doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying, like if you're Muhammad Ali, you have the identity. It doesn't matter if you lose. At some point, it doesn't matter. You can't always win. You'd be too old to be fighting people that are like 5 years old, boxing gods. I'm just trying to explain the shoes you'll be put in when this fight comes up. You'll be put into a certain group. You're either going to be Mike Tyson or you're going to be Jake Paul. You're not going to be both. That'd be impossible. And I would probably say that Mike Tyson would lose because, you know, I don't think people care enough about boxing where they would legitimately have a fight with someone like Jake Paul. Can get killed in a boxing ring. Like, he's not a legitimate boxer. He hasn't boxed his whole life. He hasn't boxed for any amount of time. He has no soul at the end of the day. He's still a soulless internet person. I just know if I had implemented my plan to more so challenge people like that, not emulate success, I wouldn't even care. I wouldn't really care. But if I continue to emulate people who are successful and only do things based on people being successful and you know, emulating XQC, just streaming 8 hours a day and being positive, I know that I would eventually lose my identity, and one day I wouldn't be able to think anything else than what was already predetermined as far as a successful person goes. I'm not trying to get to the point where it's confusing and people think that it's about winning. It's that you don't have to care anymore about winning once you have your own identity and you're willing to do things that work that maybe aren't successful just yet. You know what I'm saying? It's a perfect point because Jake Paul's not he's not a mega famous superstar where he's like elevated above the regular people, where we're kind of safe from any backlash or drama. You know, it'd be interesting. You know, I'd like to see who wins, simply for the sake of is it legitimate? Is it a legitimate fight, right? Like, I don't really care what happens in the fight or who gets knocked out. I just really want to know if it'd be a legitimate fight. And I only could really think that while still operating like business mode if I actually have my own identity, right? If I'm a Mike Tyson fan, I can't even think because I'm Mike Tyson with it. I'm literally Mike Tyson with it. It's almost like I could bring in a new dimension into the fight. It's not about cheating yet. It's not about winning or knocking someone's attitude out of their skull. It's like, well, if I was a Mike Tyson fan, how would I feel if he would throw the fight or if he would kind of pander to reasoning almost, right? To be like someone who doesn't understand people's emotions towards Jake Paul and all that and just be like reasonable. That'd be insane. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I was their fan, like, I'm not someone that does that. So imagine if I was like, you know, it was like a race. You had Mike Tyson, Lightning McQueen in the first place, and then you had like Jake Paul as the evil Frenchman villain, and I was like in third place. But I knew that what I would do would eventually work because people would still react to stuff I was doing. I wouldn't really care. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't really care. But if I just stayed as like a big fan and emulated their success, or emulated them for their success, I'd be pretty mad if Mike Tyson threw this fight. I'd be pretty mad. I'd be like, where's the real one? You see what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't put that past a lot of people that were famous, because at the end of the day, they're all actors. Like in some way, they all have celebrity powers, acting, singing, dancing. It's not like they're tough guys or that they're gangsters, right? If it was like John Gotti and John Gotti was throwing fights, you would think John Gotti was a bad guy at that point. Like, oh, John Gotti doesn't even stand for anything gangster. He's John Gotti. He's not John Gotti anymore. He's John the Rat Gotti. That's probably what's wrong with being like that, like an actor, because you can always use the hold you have in people's emotions and your ability to make them react to just do some crazy stuff, like throw a fight or be reasonable all of a sudden, right? Like that would be insane. Like Mike Tyson almost to me is the most fictional, unreasonable person there is, but he's like a fighter or something. Like I'd be pretty upset if I was like a big fan of that type of stuff. It's almost like people attach such reverence for people who aren't like their dad or anything, and are mad when they don't perform as their dad. They're like kind of bullshit in a way. I'm saying, but you know, it just gets to be confusing because people think I'm talking about winning or knocking someone out. I'm just saying now that I would start challenging people that are successful instead of emulating them, and not to like actually win, just to kind of have that idea. Like if I challenge someone who swims 80,000 miles, and I can't swim that far, but I can still compete in some way, I could eventually find a way to be successful or swim a certain amount of distance and succeed. It's almost like in video games you have you know, one game is better than the other, or this game is dead because this other game came and destroyed every other game that existed. And you can say, well, you know, like you were saying, if this game can do enough to make this other game flinch and challenge it, that should be good enough. But this game can eventually be successful. But in terms of gaming, you actually need the whole community to acknowledge you in some way to compete with something like that. That's completely different. I wouldn't recommend someone who was going to make something that was going to stand on its own to settle for competing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't tell people who are making Battlefield to keep competing with Call of Duty. They'd be like, they already did that. They already got killed doing that. A lot of people already lost doing that type of stuff, thinking they could, you know what I'm saying, and trying to, and then not being able to do it. But the point is, you aren't successful. You aren't somebody who is already successful. Battlefield was already successful. You can't die if you aren't alive. If you aren't successful, you can't die.
And that should do it. This waypoint's harder than I anticipated, but no worries. All
So
good now.
like, my point is, if you aren't successful to compete with something like that, if you are, and you have a certain level that you're satisfied
We've
with,
got company.
I wouldn't risk it.
Anyway, off you go.
It's completely different. It's completely different.
I'll see you on the other side.
Like if I was gonna start trying to compete with people that were big streamers, I have nothing to lose other than the fact that I wasted time doing something that didn't work, or you know, something like I was just wasting time. It's not like I lost anything really.
Don't. The Emperor wants you. You're trying to reach the citadel. Over there. Follow. Go. Find me in the I want to say more, but there are spies. I'll try to distract. Hopefully, I will see you soon.
And it can kind of save you from being complacent to put yourself in these type of positions. I can almost see this being the ultimate cheat code. I can see this being like the up, down, left, right, L2, R2, turbo mode, engaged, destroy, lightning queen type of deal. Alright. This might be one of the greatest ideas I've ever come up with, and was able to implement for free. You know what I'm saying? Think of like wrestling. If you ever watch wrestling, there are wrestlers that are just not the greatest wrestlers that ever will be. It just isn't possible. They already aren't the same wrestler. They already are looked at as almost a smaller human being. Which is okay, right? Like, I'm not partaking in these. But all they have to do is do something different. Eventually, there's these goofy wrestlers that aren't John Cena or aren't Stone Cold Steve Austin, who are so goofy to people. All they have to do is do something different. If they get being different, they find their own success, right? But they make John Cena look better, and he looks smarter, and they look like just clowns. They could eventually be the greatest clown ever. They just have to challenge John Cena as a clown. I'm saying they'd have to challenge him as a clown. That's just how it is.
Your death has come.
It's a perfect example of being knocked down, only to learn the exact attack you're hit with, learn how to deal with it, and still have a bunch of trash in your pocket to throw at him. It's like being a clown. Someone smacks you in the face, you start honking your horn at them. They can't smack you again. You start honking your clown horn. Now they know you're serious, and you start pulling out an infinite handkerchief. And then what? They roundhouse kick you. Now they can't slap you anymore. They got a roundhouse kick. Okay, cool, roundhouse kick. Then you start pulling out a balloon out of your mouth, and eventually you're successful in your own way. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to keep emulating John Cena or Stone Cold. You could do something else. This is what I teach my grandkids. No, we're not doing that. This might be the greatest thing I've ever came up with, where it's like, how could I lose? You know what I'm saying? How can you lose at that point? If you're able to get up and keep racing and keep competing, you can't lose. You might not get first place, but you don't feel like a loser anymore. You don't feel like someone without an identity. Now you're the ultimate clown. It's like kind of like JoJo, where JoJo has... I talk about JoJo. I've been reading it a lot recently. It's like JoJo, where you have villains that are super cool, but always crack at the end of the day. They crack or they go crazy. They show that they're really psycho. And they might have been slapping around JoJo and his boys. Whichever JoJo we're talking about, JoJo and the boys. But at the end, they get their composure, and they win by crawling through the dirt and come up with a crazy idea to win. And then they punch the guy to death, and he flies away. Like, that's what you have to do. Sometimes you have to lose to learn the abilities of your enemies. Not that these are your real mortal enemies, right? It's like a competition. Your enemies. And you have to come up with a crazy idea to win. And you have to execute the idea. And then you say a few words that are really witty. And you do a pose, and the music starts playing. And you just smack them out into the outfield. You smack them in home run mode. Some people like that one are kind of a psycho in some ways. They'll snap and they'll be a psycho. Someone say, well, I don't want to get kicked. I don't want to compete. It's dangerous. Like, cool, go be safe. Right there is why I need that soul fire. I need the soul fire attack, or ghost flame, I mean. I think I'm gonna go ghost flame. Like, this is cool. Whatever his name is, Golem's cool. But we're going soul flame. La 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 la. I have to drop a minion to even equip Ghost Flame. You know, this Warlock build isn't a minion build. This is a curse build. That's actually pretty dope. I didn't even notice that it'd be that big of an area. It's gonna be pretty wacky. Lots of flame and necrotic damage. Basically a damage over time build. Oh, never mind. That costs a lot to even channel that. I'm not about to... Never mind. That'd be good to kill like elites, I guess. That was gonna be pretty dope. I just need more mana. Reduce the channeling cost. Skeletons really serve as a tanking precaution or something, more of a, like something to gain aggro. Huh. But you know, now, you know, when you see me streaming, you should say, look, this guy's challenging first place, guy in first place. But his method isn't to emulate him or just show up behind him. If he was throwing banana peels and the guy in first place was responding, he's throwing banana peels. Right? If the guy in first place is like a rock star and I'm like dancing like a clown, I'm dancing like a clown. It's kind of like someone's dad. When someone's dad scares them and he screams, that's not what South people would do, right? That's like his dad's bonkers. That's what his dad does. That's what we doing. Alright.
More bunkers.
I like that they gave the Warlock curse build fire and necrotic damage. That's really cool. Skiddly diddly doo. Like every time I come up with an idea that is very peaceful, even though it sounds like I'm just gonna attack people by throwing banana pills and carving out my success underneath them because I'm like second best, it's still peaceful. I'm not gonna attack anyone literally. It's always a breakthrough sometimes. So I would challenge people, especially people who are like have been violent for so long or just buttholes. People who already put the work in and are violent offenders are real members in these streets. So I'm gonna put the word out that they're dangerous. You know what I'm saying? To come up with some peaceful ideas, and that'd be like a big breakthrough. Think about people that are like super ghetto. They don't really calculate they're successful, but they could always do what they're doing to eventually be successful. Not to say that like you should, But you could if you were always stuck having to be number one or having to copy that, right? If you have to copy number one, you really could just copy whoever competes with them. Not copy them, but you can be whoever competes with them, and you don't have to worry about copy.
I'm willing to. I'll use. There should be some aqueducts up ahead. Let's meet there.
I still have 2 more warlock abilities, which should cancel my use of Bone Curse and Golem, depending on what they do. I know I'm dropping Golem, but I don't know if I'm gonna drop Bone Curse. I have multiple curses, is kind of what I want. Let me see if these other curses apply curses. I don't know, I'm not really looking at thoroughly, but I gotta use the bathroom anyway. I think Mark for Death is a curse. Yeah, it is a curse. So the other curse I can always have is Mark for Death, which I gain from Bone Curse, or yeah, Bone Curse, but eventually I can gain it from Soul Feast. And at the end of the day, Bone Curse is a physical curse, so it's not even that useful for my build, so I'll definitely drop it in favor of another Warlock ability. The only reason I would see people not jumping into Mastery abilities exclusively is their lack of versatility, or the fact that they don't fill a role that needs to be filled, right? Like I need ability like Chaos Bolt for like a basic ability, and your Warlock fills that. But you can say, look, if you have Necromancer doesn't have that, so Necromancer you might use Marrow Shard or Rip Blood, right? We might want to use Skeleton still and use Golems for your companions. I think about it, there were people, you know, this is about the competition as second best. Think about people who had to deal with racism and second-class citizenshipism, or being considered a second-class citizen. If they just kept competing and used what was working against them, not like as a weapon, but as success, you know, they could have got further without having to be considered, to be seen as people coming out of second-class citizenship. Like if they were able to go to school, they wouldn't try to get into better schools. They would just use their schools, right? And they wouldn't want people who deal with racism. People don't want to go to their schools. It's kind of like saying, well, they're just not. They're just accepting it. Like you're basically saying they should accept racism. But more so, what I'm saying is they should accept the immaturity, the fact that they would give you something solely because they gave it to you. They wouldn't mess with you. I'm saying something that'd be considered immature. Like if they would let you have your own schools, but they had to like kind of make them. They had to ruin them. You would accept the fact that, you know, instead of you trying to be mature and subjecting yourself to their existence, like a racist existence, you would just move past the immaturity, kind of accepting just the immaturity factor, and just have your own schools. Like if these are all second class things, second rate, second class, you would just still use them, because it's not like everyone who's treated properly is a genius. Everyone who isn't a subject to racism is a god. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm kind of telling people that through competing with number one and using what's successful to eventually find your own success, you know, you could always find that you were almost forced to deal with what you could access to, forced to deal with and take care of lower level things because you can't be number one, right? People that are always number one are known to just not really have, not known, but suspected to not have respect for things lower than them. But if you can't be number one, you have nothing to gain from not respecting those things. Maybe not, you don't have anything to gain from not respecting them if you're number one, but you know, it's kind of like you have to be more down to earth at that point. Like, someone might have some advantages and some privileges as the biggest success ever that you might not have. And you say, well, without those privileges, you know, there's no point in me doing anything or something. Like, that's cool, but you may be forced to be a little bit more humane. You might not be able to do certain things. People that are based in privilege don't even work for anything because they have so much out of their privilege. And then think about it, if you had to eventually join a group, like if you use my technique to become successful, if you eventually join a group of other people, you don't have to worry about using my technique. You can just all be buddies. But you've got to the group your own way, your own identity, you know what I'm saying? From second place. And you already learned that being in second place isn't what you want to be. Or you already learned how to utilize second place. So being buddies in a group of people could be much easier. You might have more understanding for people like that. Maybe that's people's problem, where they just want to hang around people that are down to earth and are struggling and building from the bottom just so they can eventually be like a pampered baby or something. I don't know. We're just hanging around and being fair weather with it. People like that scare me anyway. People that are number one and don't waver and don't even really care how big they are. Like, that's kind of scary to me. It's like a giant, this is like a giant in a way. Like, you know, they could literally talk about anything in front of 1,000 people. You know, people who had nothing to do with the conversation and just not really waver or even think to change their wording. Or like, that's scary.
Just for one, here I was, hoping this would lead us closer.
It's kind of World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft's not something you can just go out into the world and be successful with. It's really popular, but it isn't open and connected to the world outside of it. Think of it like that, where you're competing with the world outside of World of Warcraft, trying to be successful using it, and you're just doing what works. You're playing World of Warcraft, you love it, blah blah blah, and just, you know, like that, you should be able to find your own identity and still find a way to succeed. You know what that means? Just running raids or something. I don't know, just doing mythic raids. Just doing mythics. So this Ghost Flame is more of a ward ability where you gain ward and you can spend it to do more damage and all that stuff. What is withering? They just take less damage. It's kind of like whatever the other status effect was. Excuse me. The great thing about playing as a warlock, I don't really have to waste a lot of points. In the regular cultite tree, I don't need any of this stuff. I don't really need any of it, really. I've already got it if I needed it. I just need warlock stuff, which should get me the build I want much sooner than other classes that require more points from different trees. It's almost like magic. Think of how magic works, where you don't, not that, you know, not like everyone's magic, just like how magic is, like works in like most stores, like how we would agree magic works. You don't force it, you just sit back and magic happens, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like in real life magic would blow your legs off because you'd be amazed and you would just think you're running away from magic, but you're not because you're so amazed. You just blows your legs off. It's like seeing a dog. In real life, there wouldn't be too many rules to it. You just see a dog, and you run away from it, or you don't. And now you have a dog. If you don't run away, I don't know. But it's like magic, right? If you want to use my technique of competing with number one and finding success in what seems to work to number one, it'd be like magic. It's like mermaid magic. Fishing, I don't know. So I think that really this idea gave me a bit of advice to give people, because it's easy to say, do what Cecil would do. But it doesn't always work out that way. You don't want to be like kind of alienating yourself from your life and what is going on in your life to be successful, like somebody else who might do stuff you might not even know they're doing, like alienating themselves or alienating other people. It's like magic. If anyone tries to stop me from explaining this, they magically become number one, and I magically throw banana peel, and they magically have to deal with it. Magically. I think the Warlock, like I said already, is my favorite class when it comes to its skill tree tying together. Using this fissure to apply curse, using Chaos Bolt, using Ghost Flame, it all tying together with curses. I think it takes the cake. Everything else goes together, but not well enough.
I'm serious. Before
my opinion.
I'm too hurt. When he fled, I saw him heading deeper.
I am Yulia. Because in regard from there, the heart of the Citadel is beyond. There is an exit near the Emperor's throne, giving you a chance to strike.
I need some better gear. I need some better gear. Someone's selling. They found a website to sell stuff. This is the first ad I've seen. You know, people have like the ads they spam in like MMOs and stuff. Buy gold. But this guy's selling gold. Stop selling gold. I'm gonna report this guy because I don't want people selling gold. How do you report people? I'm gonna ask this guy if I can report it. Oh my god, bro. Someone needs to report this bot or whoever is spamming gold in chat, selling gold. That always ruins an era of the game. Like you say, well, people can sell gold or whatever, and you know, it's kind of cool, you can buy some gold. But really, you'll look back on it, and this whole chunk of time will be eaten up by gold sellers or bots. And you'll be like, dang, that like kind of, that should have been avoided. People should have thought about that. I doubt this game will have the same fate because it's not an MMO. It's just like, it doesn't really matter in this game. Buying gold would be like a good idea, but it's hard to get gold in this game. But I'm not saying you can't buy gold. I'm saying you shouldn't go and spam buy gold in the game on a bot or something. Like, how's the game even supposed to have, like, why would you buy gold to a game that is ran by bots? Like, there's some games that have a lot of bot issues, a lot more bot issues. Like, why would I even buy gold to play the game when you just ruined it trying to sell gold? That doesn't even make any sense. It'd be different if, like, it wasn't advertised to the game. That's like the best way to advertise it, but who would buy gold from something like that and then play the game? Like, the game is ruined. Why would you play the game anymore? The channel cost is going down a lot. It's gone down by 50% and still going down.
If we pull this off, maybe I can
pretty
give us some good
devastating.
news for once, eh?
I feel like I take a lot of stuns and shredding. I don't know what shred arming. Oh. I don't know about it'd be considered stuns, but I feel like I keep getting like my armor shred or I'm getting stunned. I like need some stun resistance. I think only like the set that don't have stun resistance. But I find myself getting stunned a lot or like staggered or something. Might be a stun. I feel like I have ward on. Maybe I won't get stunned. I don't know. Maybe I still am gonna get stunned. Yeah, that's pretty good. Once upgrade the cost or lessen the cost. I can actually turn this to necrotic damage. So I probably will. I'll turn Bone Crust necrotic and probably multiply its damage. I feel like if I had to like, you know, jump into some content I've never played before, or just potentially a situation where dying's not like a dungeon, I feel like my best chances of survival and to thrive eventually is Warlock. Like, I feel like if you're gonna play this game, you wanna play the best class. So far, I think it's the Warlock. Its abilities feel solid, and you don't have to really put yourself in harm's way to make it work, and if you do, you can use Ghost Flame and not be able to move or have to get close to use it. There's a lot of passives in the skill tree and specialization to give you armor and dodge chance and all that. So like it's not that bad. I feel like it's the most solid. I think it's the strongest class, especially a game where you're mostly stomping on mobs, and fighting elites. You can't go wrong with Warlock. And it's really cool having the necrotic damage and the fire damage. It's just so cool. I'd have to say a runner-up would be Falconer, and then Shaman from the Primalist. As far as what I've played, I'm ranking it as far as the best classes go. Not that this is doing more damage. The Warlock's doing more damage than the Falconer. I can just tell that it'd go better. A lot of situations go a lot better with the Warlock. At its full, at it, like complete upgraded, I don't know. Once you completely upgrade Spectral Menace, which is your way to decrease the mana cost for Ghost Flame, it has a negative 7%. Does negative 7% as a... I don't know, I don't really know how to word that. It's very difficult. It basically reduces your mana consumption by 7%. Now my technique is, my strategy is, instead of using a Chaos Bolt on elites, I just use Ghost Flame. It just kills them instantly. Not instantly. Pretty quickly. considering that the necromancer, or not necromancer, the occultite isn't the greatest caster, I wonder how like crazy it gets playing a mage. You know, with a lot of the screen and visuals. Like how crazy that would get. So I've seen a little bit of gameplay from the mages, or wizard, whatever they're called, mages, I think, and it looks pretty crazy.
Take me.
Dragon Dogma 2 is coming out soon. That should be a nice, fun game to play and have just some fun with. It's a single-player game, I think. I don't know if it has co-op, but you get to summon pawns, which are companions, and I love having companions in games. Especially a game like Dragon's Dogma that's so focused on companions, having so many companions. And you know, the whole aspect of jumping on creatures' backs and fighting them like that is still in the game. I think what this game has going for it is Dragon Dogma is a great game, but it's not the most well-known. And you can still play it today and it's still really fun. It's not like you're missing Dragon's Dogma, you can play it right now. And I feel like this game is going to be so great because of the marketing and its connection to the original Dragon's Dogma. And people are probably really wanting to play Dragon's Dogma, but it's such an old game where it feels dated and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to play it, but it just was so old. Like I bought it. I didn't know the second one. I don't remember. I didn't know the second one was coming out. I think I'd heard about the first one more recently, very recently. And you know, I played it. It was just such an old game, but it was just so cool. You know, I can definitely see that being like a big selling point is it's Dragon's Dogma, but it's like updated, so like it's much smoother. You know, there's a lot more content. It can run. Or it's basically higher graphics and all that. Like I think because it's Dragon's Dogma, like as long as it's good as the first one, it's gonna be pretty great. It just has that kind of feeling to it. It isn't even like that anything that happens particularly special or anything. Just what they try to pull off with it. It's such an old game. It's like to me Dark Souls level of clunky. And like trying to minimize gaps and all that. It's just really cool. Like, I could literally play the first one right now, but I would just stop because of how clunky it is. And it's how, like, expansive it is, I guess you could say. What I saw.
Your death has come.
Stun avoidance. That's what I was looking for. Look at this giant idol. It's like, that's huge. Huge. Oh, I got Soul Feast. Alright, let me get rid of the Bone Curse. And throw in Soul Feast. Does a lot of damage. I can immediately grab Mark for Death. Let me see what Soul Piece does to a mob, an enemy. It only works against cursed enemies. So I have to use it against like an elite. Everyone else is gonna get killed instantly. There we go. So I guess that's almost like my life drain, but it more so does it's reward basically. And it's kind of easy to cast. A lot more sustainability, having infinite ward basically. So it's like a good defensive spell, I guess you could say. Especially when you come face to face with an elite, you need that little bit of extra health to just take it down and keep moving. I really like to try to implement a lot of the benefits that come from doing bigger games like GTA and World of Warcraft. It's almost like there are these big service trays where you can just service people, you know. Like if I put on GTA and you were at my house, like you just probably watch you play it for at least a couple minutes and you know, you'd be chilling. It's like it becomes a part that you wouldn't just remove, like you wouldn't turn it off to talk to people, like you just would let it play in the background, right? I just like to have something like that on top of me actually playing the game actively.
Your death has come.
I wish the icons for the effects on the minion's health bar or the enemy's health bar were larger. No, there's really no way to change that, but yeah, that'd be nice. If enemy, it's the number of cursed enemies within 15 minutes is at or below a threshold shortly after. That shows the number of enemies in that range of mark for death. Reaches this field if there's enemies cursed. I don't even know what that means. I gotta use the bathroom. I'm gonna go do that. Alright, I'm back. I used the bathroom.
Amazing. I never would have thought necromancy could be so glorified. Something so grand.
Do not
You should have seen this come. You know how the Emperor operates. Yes. And now your friend will watch.
I've heard of your power. Let's see how you face this. Who are you? No more games! You... Why are you here?
I guess I should have kept that, actually. I could have just kept the bone
Now's
curse
our
affliction,
chance.
like it's just an extra
Quick.
curse added. It's not gonna hurt anything.
Pathetic human mistake. You think you can kill me? You think you can...
Enough! Can't use the lance!
I kept calling it a lance
lance
of
of
Heorot.
Heorot.
Or not the lance, I kept calling the lance a spear. It's a
Quickly.
lance.
You need to get out of here! Finally back in my own era. Looks like more fools will have to die yet if I'm to get off this mountain. Wither before me!
this land. My flames will scour this place. So be it then. Perish! Pathetic. I do not have much longer. Go north. Retrieve the
Put your hero. And who did he find? Here, come. We have much to discuss.
Yes? I see.
There's also an augment. So you have augments as well as like the pet and the boots, but you also get an augment. So I'm guessing that it could be like an effect, like a trail effect for the boots and all that. Alright, I'm gonna get up out of here. It's I've been streaming for like an hour and a half. I'm gonna go grind my hunter on World of Warcraft.